There were no damp issues in this property when it was bought, from what I understand. However, now virtually every room has some degree of dampness. You'll see that a lot of the issues come from the outside. This is penetrating damp, but it would cause a brown stain were it coming through the whole way. When you have these colourless damp patches, it's because of heat loss causing condensation. Bullet holes at the base of the wall shows that the property has been damp proofed at some stage, which hides rather than deals with the root cause.
The subsidence there. The primary areas like here, so I showed you on the outside there's a crack, so that could be having an impact, but the is more or less no brown staining, and that is relatively superficial, but it's all the way down there. But the crack could be causing moisture to come through from the outside, but it's not penetrating all the way through into the inside, otherwise you'd have a brown staining. But what often happens is that dampness on brickwork will create heat loss, which increases the risk of condensation. But it's condensation that's causing this. So the primary cause is condensation, but it's being made worse by a crack on the outside. Very easy to solve both, but that's the explanation for it. It's made worse by a number of factors, including having the dustbin in the way here, because the metal and the dustbin stops the air from flowing, and it can cause humidity to stay in the corner there. But it's always going to be a bit of a corner. But I'll explain that a bit more.
But those were the cracks on that corner, not the big crack.
Exactly, the big crack's right in the centre.
That was the one you were showing me on where the brick changes.
Exactly. You've also got, it's a bit of a bay, so you've got some extra heat loss because it's not a flat wall. Yeah. So you've got some of the dampness here. Actually, I haven't even checked this for whether it's damp or not, but this in part is to do with poor paintwork. But where you're getting, as a sort of general rule, if you've got lots of different patches of dampness in a property, it almost certainly means there's condensation, because it's general as opposed to one specific area. You can have obviously penetrating damp, lots of different areas, but as a whole, if it's across the whole property, so here here you have is there's metal work that's connecting is this an alarm system? And the metal will go down into the subfloor and become cold, so it will lose heat. So this creates a zone of extra heat loss there.
Well, that's interesting, yeah.
This is a zone of extra heat loss. I'll show you with the thermal image, but you'll see this. So if we go outside, it's on the outside. So it's just been picked up from heat loss from the outside. So in the bathroom, the area around the cistern is a body of water and will lose heat, and when it's flushed it will be replaced with cold water. So you've got a body, you'll often find a plume around a loo. The extractor fan doesn't remain on. It should have an overrun of half an hour, and it's also very slow to open up. So there will be times when it's picking up virtually no air at all, but actually the airflow is okay on it. This is the metal work around the shaver is going to create heat loss, which is why you're getting increased risk of condensation there. Oh, I have to remember my things. And this is metal. This is going to be a metal support, but I imagine, I haven't tested it, yes. but and it's going into the subfloor, so it's going to lose heat there. Here, I'll take my shoes off. In the bedroom, so there was a leak there. I put in a hygrometer probe, which I encourage you to leave. So far, it seems to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
There is a risk of there being rot there. You've got early stage rot, but I believe I fixed it, but I'm not a plumber. But it's probably good to have a plumber look at it.
Yeah.
This has been turned off, so this radiator isn't working, which is good.
I turned it off. I don't think it is working actually, and I never use it now.
Yeah.
But it stopped working after that painter had taken them off and on.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the worst of the dampness is around here, and yet these are where the radiators are on.
Yeah.
So that and it's a brown. It's brown staining, which is a sign that water coming through building material. There is some sign of condensation there, but I don't think that's enough to cause this level of dampness. So I think it's caused by the difference between the building material used on the outside and the paint, the impermeability difference, causing water to come in through the windowsill on the outside and all the way through, and that's why it's causing this brown staining. The solutions are relatively easy for all of these things. But you will have to get somebody to come and...
But they're quite detailed solutions in a way, so it would need someone that knows what they're doing, not just slapping more, causing more problems. I think I've just had people slapping things on, causing more problems.
Yeah, exactly. So as a general rule, these properties will have originally had lime-based render.
Yes.
But in time, a lot of it's been replaced and painted over.
Yes.
And if your lime is impermeable,
Yes.
sorry, is permeable,
Yes.
allows water through. So it's good to put permeable paint on permeable surfaces so that it can act. But once you start putting impermeable on, you have to go to fully impermeable, and then just as if wearing a Macintosh, you're covering the whole thing up, because when you start getting an imbalance, the water will find its way through, get trapped behind the impermeable surface, and the only thing it can do is come all the way through. I'll detail it.
Yes.
But that's the explanation. So the other thing is that so you got modern double glazed windows, but you don't have any trickle vents there. The kitchen extractor fan is good, but I'm guessing it's very noisy. I'm guessing it doesn't get used that often.
It is noisy, but I do put it on.
Okay.
I had tenants and they never put it on, so this is
Okay.
maybe caused a little bit, but no.
And the other thing is that the dry and close internally, you want to have a dehumidifier running whenever you're doing that.
Okay.
You want to get a 20 litre plus dehumidifier.
Okay.
And they're all fairly generic. They're all pretty good.
It's a big flat though, so where would I put it to?
Close to the close when you're dry and close.
Okay.
Or wherever the humidity is. I'm going to recommend you get data loggers, and you can use those to identify where the worst of the humidity is, using dew points.
Okay.
I'll explain that now.
Yes. One's just moved out a couple of weeks ago, but also there was a bed here as well with the radiators, so I think it's better here.
Yeah.
And this
Creates
seems
more
to...
airflow for the
Yes,
heat from
absolutely.
the radiator.
It was not good, and also there was a cupboard, in the lounge room. There was a cupboard in that corner with bad plastering.
Oh, yes,
And I had that.
So just to explain, so these are dots are from damp proofing treatment. So you've got flaking paint here, and what happens is, so this is either impermeable or semi-permeable, and water can get in through cracks, and then it will dissolve calcium sulfate, which is used in mortar. It's a general, it's in most building material, and it causes micro cracking. It sort of draws the salts to the surface, they crystallize, they crack underneath the paint, cause micro cracking, and then it self-perpetuates, becomes much worse. So you really want to try and keep on top of that. As a rule, every 7 years, but probably more often than that. If you've
or to repaint it.
To repaint it, yeah. You want to have it wire brushed back to brick as much as possible, and then paint with either exactly the same paint as you had originally. But if you don't know what it is, go for impermeable paint like Zinza or Dulux masonry paint.
Okay, so
Impermeable paint. That's interesting. Yeah.
That was.
The issues upstairs are made worse by humidity in the cellar where there was insufficient ventilation. An artificial vent had been put in the cellar, but it's no longer working.
To be aware of is, actually it looks, you're getting condensation in the cellar. Actually, I'll do it like this.
When there's insufficient subfloor ventilation, condensation can form on the bricks above the damp-proof course, causing rising damp-like symptoms. It also increases the risk of rot and woodworm, and here we have many cases of woodworm.
There are some signs of woodworm here. These have come back recently. This has been painted over woodworm, but these have come back recently, so it suggests that there is an ongoing woodworm problem. You want to just spray with permethrin and paint it as this has been painted. It's the best way of telling whether woodworm is ongoing. There you go. Oh, hello. Yes, it's of course Anobium punctatum, or common furniture beetle. So just to know, that's metal and that's on. So there's electricity going to it and into it, but it doesn't seem to be working. I don't know why. So the fuse is fine. I think we have to have an electrician look at that.
Apologies for using this illustration, but I wanted to highlight how subsidence or cracks in a wall can cause dampness to penetrate through from rainwater that gets trapped behind paintwork within a building, or even worse, behind render. It doesn't necessarily penetrate the whole way through, but increases the risk of condensation by causing cold zones. The predominant cause of damp in this property is condensation, be it above ground or below ground. Both need to be dealt with by improving ventilation.